The items that you're going to need to complete this project is going to be a mason jar, or if you would prefer, you can get just a plain wood craft box that you can paint or decoupage or embellish some kind of way. Or if you find a pretty decorative box that you already like, you can go ahead and use that. But for today's demonstration, I'm going to be using a jar, a mason jar. And if you do get a mason jar, try and find one that doesn't have the embossing of like the manufacturer on it. You want one that is smooth all the way around. I'm going to be using some matte Mod Podge for this. They do have glossy, semi-glossy, but for this jar I'm going to be using the matte. And you're also going to want some decorative paper. I chose this book. It was only $3, and I liked it because it had a range of colors in it, as well as designs, because I was doing three jars rather, two for women and one for a man, so I wanted to make sure I had some paper that would work for a man as well, and this one did have paper that I felt would work well for a gentleman. And of course a brush or a foam brush to apply the glue with. So to go ahead and get started, I'm just going to take some alcohol and just clean the jar up with it. I just want to make sure and remove any oils or residue that may be left on the jar from it being handled. So make sure that our glue adheres. Okay, then the next step is I like to go ahead and pick my papers out and kind of decide my color story beforehand. And I said this one's going to be for a gentleman, so I'm going to go with the papers that I feel are going to work best for a man. I generally like to pick between 5 and 6 patterns out of a book like this. Okay, for this jar, I'm going to go ahead and do these kind of randomly all over the jar. As you saw on the other two jars that I did in the pictures there, I did those more in kind of like a gradient, going from the darkest color at the bottom to the lightest color up to the top. But for this jar, just because I think visually it's going to be a little more interesting to just kind of mix it up, because some of these papers are playing well together, but some of them, like this one, is maybe just a little bit too of a sky blue, but I think just having it randomly placed throughout for a little pop of color here and there is going to work a little better than having it as one ring of color all the way around the jar. So my recommendation, if you're working with a jar, if you're working with a box, it absolutely doesn't matter where you start or how you place the papers on a square surface. But on a jar, because you have two very steep curves, you have one here at the neck and then here at the base of the jar. So my recommendation is to go around the neck of the jar first and then work your way down. So that way when you get to the bottom, you can flip your jar over and work on the bottom, and it'll be a lot simpler. And then the other reason is because around the neck and around the bottom you have to use thinner strips. You have to tear off thinner strips to be able to fit in these curves, and the paper lay, you know, fairly flat. So what I do, and the other thing is going around the neck, because you have this rim right here, I suggest working on the edge, tearing from the edge of the paper so that you have that nice flat edge to put up against the ring of the jar right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you about the size paper that I tear off for the neck. It's not very big. Now once we get around to the body of the jar, we're going to be using much bigger pieces. So I just go ahead and open my bottle of Mod Podge. And you can pour it into like a little styrofoam bowl or paper bowl, or onto a paper plate or something like that. I just dip my brush directly in the jar. And go ahead and paint the Mod Podge directly on the jar. Place the paper in place. Get a little more glue on the brush. And use the glue use the brush and the glue to really press the paper down into place. And sometimes I even get my finger in there Now make sure if you're going to use your finger to kind of really mush it down that it's good and wet with glue. I've got all these piles of torn paper here and separated into a couple of different piles each. I have one pile that are going to be the bigger pieces for covering the body of the jar, and then I tore it into smaller, skinnier strips for doing the bottom. And then sometimes you'll notice after your glue starts drying that you have little holes where you didn't cover the jar, and so sometimes I'll take these smaller pieces and just cover those little holes. So I'll save one paper just to show you my process for how I tear these pages. I do go ahead and tear off the square edges because I don't need them anymore, and then just tear them into big chunks. Now to do the smaller, skinnier pieces, I do just that. I just rip them into just smaller, thinner pieces to go around the curve of the bottom of the jar. It's just a lot easier to work with smaller pieces to do that. Okay, now that that's done, the rest of this is going to go very quickly. And you quite literally just keep on like we were doing with the neck of the jar. I just cover an area about like that. And just start grabbing random pieces. And you can lay a couple down at a time. You're just going to make sure if you're going to overlap them that you place glue where they're going to overlap as well. And don't be afraid to put too much glue on because it does dry clear. And having enough glue on really does make it easier for your finger to glide over the paper to push all the air bubbles out and to push the wrinkles down. If there wasn't enough glue on there, your finger would start to rip the paper. Okay, I've gotten closer to the bottom of the bottle, or the jar rather. And so before I do this last kind of strip around the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and do the very bottom. Because you're going to have a whole lot of little edges sticking out this way. And it's just nice to be able to come back with a layer around this way to kind of cover all those edges. And this is where we're going to start using the skinnier strips of paper that we cut. So you're going to put some glue on the bottom of the jar, going down the side, and then just start taking these thinner strips and you are going to want to take special care and kind of really pushing that paper down and getting it adhered well. Okay, now that I've got everything glued all the way around the bottom, and I went ahead and put a few pieces on the very bottom to finish that up, now I can go ahead and do my last strip all the way around the bottom. Just this last little piece of jar that's showing around the bottom section. One tip I'm going to give you when handling your jar and your glue is still kind of tacky on the sides, don't hold it by the sides while that glue is still tacky, because what will happen is when you pull your finger up, some of the decorative part of the paper will come up with it and leave little spots. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up and come back and show you how I decorate the last little bits of the outside. Okay, here is another jar that I have completed, and it's completely dry. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I finish the outside of the jar. Just add a little decoration to it. And these are some things that I printed out using Word and some clip art. And I am going to link another video that I made about doing the printables for this project. I'm going to link a video below for that. And I'm also going to put a link to my blog where you can print out and customize the scriptures. Just thought it would make it a little bit easier for you guys if you wanted to, you know, do this project if you could already have the scriptures available to you. So I am going to put a link to my blog where you can find those customizable scriptures below. But anyway, so this is completely dry, and I just printed out these things and tore them out. And I'm going to insert the video here that shows you how I got this look to them, this kind of aged patina to them. Okay, rather than cutting the words out, I went ahead and tore them out so that it would keep with the same look as the rest of the decoration on the jar. And then I watered down some brown paint and simply dabbed it onto the letters with a little paper towel. You can accomplish the same thing using coffee or tea. It just gives the papers a nice kind of aged look so they're not so stark and bright against your jar. Once everything is dry, go ahead and just figure out your placement, how you would like. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue to tack it in place right now. How you would like the outside decoration to look. I think I like that placement. Now that I've got an idea of it, I'm going to go ahead and secure everything down in the same manner that we did everything else. Put the Mod Podge where you want the and then go back over it with the Mod Podge to make sure it's secure. Rub it down, get any bubbles or wrinkles out. And that's it for decorating the jar. Alright, now we're down to the last steps to assemble our personalized scripture jars. And of course you're going to want to take your printed out scriptures and just cut them apart. And you can do this step while you're waiting for your glue to dry. And just go ahead and fold them in half and half again and then in half again. So they're about that size. And you just go ahead and drop them in your jar. So once you've got that completed, go ahead and put the lid on your jar. I also decorated the lids of the jars with images that suited the person that I was giving them to's taste. And as you can see, I just simply traced around the image and made sure that I liked the placement that it was going to fit on the lid. And then just cut the image out. I also wanted to make sure that it adhered to the top of the lid without a lot of wrinkling. So I did cut little slits all the way around the image just to make sure that going up that bevel that it would lay nice and flat without a lot of wrinkling. It took just a minute and it was well worth the time spent doing it. And then I simply layered some Mod Podge on top of the lid and then put my image down on top of that, and then put another layer of Mod Podge on top of the image to make sure that it adhered very well to the lid. Okay, to finish up the jars and to wrap them, you can use a gift bag. Of course, you can use a different kind of tissue paper than I'm using. You can use wrapping paper, whatever works for you. But I had these little half sheets of tissue paper on hand, so I simply just take the jar like so and just roll it up. And then I'm going to take just a little dab of glue right here, just to kind of secure it in place, and a little bit more right there. And then I had some really old natural fiber fishing line on hand, so I'm just going to take that and wrap it around the jar several times. And I don't have my gift tags with me, but I would go ahead and take my gift tag and punch a hole in the corner of it and slide it onto, thread the line through the gift tag to secure it on, and just tie a simple bow. And now my personalized scripture jar is ready to give to its intended recipient. So thank you so much for watching today. I'm so glad you decided to join me for this craft project. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day. Bye now.